Speedway. Oh, such
wow.
a nasty into turn one. They're coming at him.
Wow.
Hard into the wall. Denny Hamlin from the lead slams into the wall.
Yeah, I think it's time to move to the road course after today's race. This is the Rich Report, bringing you the richest content across entertainment. My name is Cameron Richardson. Welcome back to the channel. Join me today to recap today's Brickyard 400 is Sean Clark. Sean, how are you doing this evening?
I am doing good, although I'm not great because I'm really upset. Like you said, there wasn't a road course for the Cup Series today, unlike the amazing Xfinity road course race we got yesterday. So this entire race today, I was thinking, can we just do the road course for Xfinity for the Cup Series, please? So other than that, I'm doing good.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And it was the first weekend we had all three major motorsports organizations underway. Of course, we had the IndyCar and Xfinity series on the Indianapolis road course, and both of them were pretty great. You know, it will wait for the Indy 500, obviously, in August, because, I mean, that's really the only race at Indy that needs to be run on the oval now, and today was just added to that. And then F1 started this morning, which was just absolutely insane. Only 11 cars finished the race. Yes, almost half the field went out with a mechanical issue. It was one of the best season openers to F1 season ever, really. It was phenomenal. Go watch the F1 season. But we're talking about the Cup Series, and prior to today, back on Friday, it was revealed that Jimmie Johnson tested positive for COVID-19. Obviously, he missed the Brickyard 400. Justin Allgaier, an Xfinity Series regular, filled in for the 48. Obviously, Allgaier does have a pass in the Cup Series, but it was not a great tenure. Went back to Xfinity Series and has found success in the lower series, but has not pulled out that championship yet. So, Sean, I want to know your thoughts first before we get into the race on Johnson's COVID-19 positive test and whether or not you think other drivers should be tested to see if they have it.
I think regular testing should be a thing. And it seems like Johnson is not the only one in the entire team of NASCAR that has tested, because we've seen Hendrick team members getting tested positive tests as well. But when it comes to the drivers, obviously NASCAR is the safest sport when it comes to COVID-19, because you're mostly in a car, you're only around a few people in the pit crews, so mostly it is pretty safe. I would step up the testing a bit just in case, because you don't want team members infecting other team members and they interact with other team members, and you just don't want it spreading. But at the same time, though, it's not too much concern, unlike, basketball and baseball, which, oh boy, it is not looking good for those sports right now. But for NASCAR, there's not a ton to worry about. Like, I hope Jimmie Johnson recovers. I wish him nothing but the best. But it's not too much of an issue with NASCAR right now.
Yeah, and going into today, I said in my preview, I said it was unlikely we would get a delay, and by golly, we got a lightning delay that pushed the Cup race back an hour. The fourth straight race, I believe, dating all the way back to Talladega, where we've had delays to a Cup race. The last one we've had that went on without a hitch was the Martinsville night race. I mean, I don't know. I get it that, weather is unstable during the summer at these places, so you can't really blame NASCAR, but I think it would benefit the Cup Series to potentially move up to a 12 p.m. Eastern start, even maybe 1 o'clock, because these storms happen in the afternoon. That's the main problem here. It's not because, they're just in a bad spot. It's the time that it happens at. These storms, I've been to Florida, these storms happen in the afternoon, and NASCAR has suffered through a lot of the summer because of rain delays and lightning delays. So it's been a rough stretch. Just 5 races now because Homestead was thrown in there as well. So yeah, rough stretch. Joey Logano led the field to green. Stage 1 went off pretty clean. And then we had the competition caution, and that is when pretty much all hell broke loose, as we had a massive incident on pit road. cars stacking up, trying to get into it's a very narrow pit road lane. So a bunch of cars stacked up and took out Allgaier, sadly. Ryan Blaney and a pit crew member of his got hit hard. Looked like he got hit in the leg. He was okay, was able to get taken out on the stretcher, left with a smile on his face, but proves that pit road is just as dangerous for the drivers as it is for the pit crew. Also involved Brennan Poole, Chris Buescher, Corey LaJoie, Ryan Preece, Ricky Stenhouse, Martin Truex Jr., who's just, ever since the Martinsville night race, has just been struggling. And Christopher Bell was in it as well, but he would eventually recover and finish pretty solid at the end of the day. William Byron would stay out, and he would go on to win stage one of the race. The stage one results goes as follows. William Byron, it was his second stage one of the year. Eric Jones finished second. Austin Dillon, great day all around for him up until the final lap, but we'll get into that towards the end of the video. Chase Elliott fourth, Kevin Harvick fifth, Denny Hamlin sixth, Matt DiBenedetto seventh, Kyle Busch eighth, Keselowski ninth, and Clint Bowyer 10th. Going into stage two, this is when the annoyance of racing on this oval with this terrible, terrible aero package started coming into play. Harvick and Hamlin were obviously the two best cars of the day. But on the restart for stage two, Chase Elliott would pull away to about a 4-second lead, and Hamlin and Harvick were trapped behind Matt DiBenedetto because DiBenedetto, Hamlin kept trying to get to the back of him, kept trying to make a pass, but once you get too close to the rear of somebody, you stall out, and it becomes nearly impossible to make a pass. DiBenedetto would have to fall apart, had to make a mistake passing a lap car. Hamlin would need lap traffic to get by DiBenedetto, and that was the story of the day. And you heard it towards the end of the race before the Hamlin incident. The only way, you heard it from the broadcasters, the only way Harvick is going to catch Hamlin is with lap traffic. And if that has been the statement of this aero package, if that doesn't open your eyes, it's just insane. Steve O'Donnell needs to realize that this aero package sucks. The race today was not great. Let's just get it out of the way. We had one clean pass for the lead under green flag conditions, and that was because William Byron in stage two blew a tire. So it wasn't really even a clean pass. It was because a guy had a mechanical issue and had to cede the lead to another driver. That was the only clean green flag pass we saw. Everything else had to happen by wreck, or it happened under the caution. So, Sean, I'll ask you, what were your thoughts on overall just the racing before we talk about stage two and the final stage?
Well, that pileup was one of the most ridiculous things I have ever seen. It was literally just a bunch of cars. One car slowed down, and then it was just utter chaos from there. And it was good to see the Blaney crew member, the fact that he was in good spirits as he was led to the ambulance. I'm very thankful that he is going to make a full recovery, because that was terrifying. That was very terrifying to see. And when it comes to this, we saw Talladega. It was nothing but passes. We saw Bristol, one of the best, probably the best race of the year, on top of Talladega. What do we see in those races that made it so great? We saw passing under a green flag. Passing is excitement. Okay, they're literally the same thing. Passing equals excitement. It's as simple as that, really. And when you look at William Byron, great pit strategy to get that stage win. Considering he's on the lower tier of the playoff drivers, it was very good for him to pick up a stage win, because you need as many of those as possible if you're not going to win a race, which I highly doubt he will, because he still hasn't yet in the NASCAR Cup Series. But my final thought is I think that Kevin Harvick, this may have been his most impressive race of the year, just in the first two stages. Like, he was incredible. The fact that he was able to come into pit roads one lap before the competition caution, getting those fresher tires, getting the advantage of track position, that was a phenomenal strategy to see. And Kevin Harvick has really proven that he is the best driver in the Cup Series this season. I don't think there's any question about that. It was good to see what Harvick did. And through the first two stages, even before we get to stage three, I just had to touch on that. Harvick continues to be very impressive, even though he's 44 years old.
Yes, and our first on-track incident would occur in stage 2, and the first of many, many, many blown tires, as you saw in the intro video. Eric Jones was one of the most violent hits I've ever seen at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I've seen a lot of bad crashes at Indy, but man, that blown tire off of turn 3 right, pretty much head on into the wall. Thank God for the safer barriers, because if there was no safer barriers and we were stuck in 2002, I mean, we'd have a lot of drivers with a lot of serious injuries. And that's another problem with racing on this oval. Just the speeds are way too high. And so, for some reason, Goodyear can't get the tire right at this track, because this is not, the first Brickyard 400 where flat tires have been a problem. It's been a problem year after year after year, and it hasn't changed. And it's dangerous. You're going to get someone seriously hurt if they're going to continue racing on the oval. Of course, road course, you have great racing, and you don't have the extreme tire wear. You're not going to have the same danger of cutting a tire that you would going into a turn and coming off a turn and slamming head onto a wall. It's just not there. And then William Byron on the restart had the lead, looked like it was going to be the same pit strategy, and he would get another high stage finish, if not a second stage one. But he would cut a tire, and yes, this brings back the only clean green flag pass we saw in the entire race was William Byron. So there's that. It was another blown tire. Ryan Blaney, a guy who's really been sort of rising ever since his Talladega win. He spun and he crashed, and that would ruin his day. He's had some inconsistencies this year, but he looked like he was going to pick it up after Talladega, but nope. Brickyard 400, another step back for that 12 team. Harvick would go on to win stage 2. It was his second stage win of the season as well. The top 10 in stage 2 are as follows: Harvick, Chase Elliott second, Denny Hamlin third, Matt DiBenedetto and Austin Dillon fourth and fifth respectively. We'll get into that later. Matt Kenseth finally having a nice run on the day, finished at 6th in that stage. Kyle Busch 7th, who was pretty much stuck in the lower top 10s all race long. Kurt Busch 8th, Christopher Bell 9th, and Clint Boyer 10th. All right, now going into stage 3, it was the Hamlin and Harvick battle. These two running right next to each other all throughout the opening parts of the final stage until green flag pit stops. Hamlin would actually come down pit road first. Harvick was told to pit at the same time as Hamlin, but didn't get the message. He would come in a lap later, and they struggled a little bit on the right side, a little bit slow on the right side, and it allowed Hamlin to pull out to over a second lead, and it looked like he was on his way to a victory. But then later in the race, Alex Bowman once again cut a tire, slammed the wall. Just been a rough stretch for him ever since NASCAR return. I want to say from what I said on Twitter, it was his 8th finish outside the top 10 in the 11 races since the return. So, I mean, there's got to be a race. Maybe the All-Star race. He can win that, and that will be his momentum going in towards the run to the playoffs. But he's got to turn it around, or else he will be out of the playoffs in the round of 16 because he just doesn't have any momentum. So we get a restart, and it looks like Hamlin's going to pull away because of clean air. Of course, we heard earlier over the radio during that stage that he needed to save that right front tire because it was a little bit on the edge. It didn't look like the team was worried that it wouldn't make it to the finish, and their worries did come true as with 7 to go. Hamlin would cut a right front tire and slam the wall hard. Took him a little bit longer to get out of the car because of the incredibly hard hit, and it changed everything. But on the overtime restart, it would be Harvick that would eventually pull away from Matt Kenseth, and Harvick would go on to match Hamlin for wins on the season with his Ford. Sean, what was your biggest takeaway from that final stage?
Besides Hamlin wrecking, my biggest takeaway was Alex Bowman. Our good friend Johnny Crane had said this comment saying that Alex Bowman is like a Major League Baseball pitcher who has a 5 ERA, but he pitched a perfect game. Thank God for Alex Bowman that he won an Auto Club, because if he didn't have that win at Auto Club, this would be an utter disaster for Alex Bowman. He did have a runner-up in the very first race back at Darlington, but since then it's just been bad result after bad result after bad result. I remember at Charlotte, Alex Bowman was second, and then he just slammed into the wall. that was a really tough blow for Alex Bowman. Like I said, he's had 8, like you said, he had 8 of the last 11 races outside the top 10. That Auto Club win cannot be understated how huge that was for Bowman, because he would be around where William Byron or possibly even Kurt Busch is in the playoff standings. This just goes to show that Bowman, he has bad luck, but if he can put together a good race, he can be up there. But it's just the way Brickyard was. Blaney, Eric Jones, Byron, other people, Ryan Newman as well, they're just getting flat tires. It just doesn't work. This oval for the Brickyard doesn't work. And Bowman was, to me, the biggest example of that. Obviously, Denny Hamlin was the big wreck that ended up deciding this race. But it's just another tough result for Alex Bowman. He really needs to get a win sometime before the playoffs, or else he could be an early exit come playoff time.
Yes, and the Goodyear tire director, the Goodyear racing director, Greg Stucker, did make a statement today on the cut tires today, and I'll put that right here in the video so you can get a look at that. I mean, obviously it doesn't change the fact that today was a bad race. There's no excuses to have tires cut that easily. And so looking at the top 10 for the race, Harvick, 4th win of the year, 53rd of his career, back-to-back Brickyard 400 wins. Matt Kenseth, finally, the big day he needed. And the top 2 were the 2 oldest drivers in the race, Harvick and Kenseth. Kenseth, great to see him. His best finish since winning at Phoenix in 2017. Eric Almirola, 5th consecutive top 5 finish with a 3rd place run. Brad Keselowski, 4th, and rookie Cole Custer with his career high 5th place finish. Kyle Busch finished 6th. Michael McDowell scoring a 2nd top 10 in 3 races. Tyler Reddick finished 8th, another good finish for him. Bubba Wallace matched his season high for top 10s with a 9th place run, and Joey Logano would round out the top 10. Looking at some notable results, big day for small teams. Squire Motorsports and Ross Chastain finished 17th on the day. This is, of course, their 2nd finish inside the top 20 since Justin Haley won last July, this time at Daytona. Daniel Suarez getting a 20th place finish with Gaunt Brothers Racing. J.J. Yeley and B.J. McLeod, 21st and 22nd, respectively. And career high finishes for Quinn Half and Josh Bilicki, finishing 23rd and 25th, respectively. Sean Clark, we will end this video giving our driver of the day. I will begin with you.
I have to talk about Matt Kenseth. Now, he wasn't supposed to race in 2020, but when Kyle Larson got suspended for his racial slur, Matt Kenseth had to take over the 42 car. And the 42 car was solid before COVID-19 broke out. It had a top 5 finish at Phoenix. It looked very strong. So Kenseth had to take it over. Now, Kenseth, this is a brand new team for him. He's 48 years old, so he's past his prime because he won a championship back in the mid 2000s. That is how old he is. He won a championship in the mid 2000s, not the 2010s, the mid 2000s.
2003.
2003. And when you look at Kenseth, you saw his experience really show today. He had great pitch strategy to help him climb up in track position. He finished 2nd, which is very impressive considering he's probably had the least amount of experience with the teams today besides Allgaier. A very impressive 2nd place finish for him. This race really showed that experience really does help. To see him get that 2nd place finish is huge, especially going forward, because if he can continue to rack up some good finishes, he could possibly push to 16th, which, according to the standings right now, is where Austin Dillon is 16th and Eric Jones at 17.
Yeah. And so with my driver of the day, obviously the result doesn't show, but it's Austin Dillon. Austin Dillon's having one of the more consistent seasons he's had in his Cup career, really, sort of disproving that whole silver spoon argument that people are giving him. The guy's a better driver than people give him a lot of credit for. They're just really mad that he drives a 3 car and it's not retired. But yeah, it was a solid day all around, running in the top 5 for a majority of the race. But on the final lap, going to turn 3, Matt DiBenedetto just decides, hey, I'm going to try to force this thing 3 wide. Almost went into the grass, and he watches up the track and takes him and Dillon out, and they both finish outside the top 10. Just, man, Brickyard, man. That is going to do it for this recap video. The Cup Series heads to Kentucky Speedway next Sunday. So, yeah, there's that. But, hey, 3 days after that, we do have the Bristol All-Star Race. So, hopefully these last couple of weeks will all be made up for with the All-Star Race at Bristol. Thank you for watching. For Sean Clark, I am Cameron Richardson. We will see you in the next video.